You moved to America in 2021 for a master's degree at Carnegie Mellon. What prompted you to move to America?
That's a great question. I think if I have to be frank, I do think that the US has by far the best tech environment there is right now in the world. That is in terms of either education, research, startups, and just technology in general. There was this idea that I want to go to a good grad school to see what it's like. I applied at the end of 2019. I was graduating in 2020, mid 2020, and I wanted to try grad school first to see what it's like to do research at a good school. And then I was also like, applying for jobs. All of them are in the US. So the question was like, why do I go to the US? I think the US was, to me, back then, it was like a nice environment for doing tech stuff. I did some internships in the US, and I realized that the people I meet there are energetic and they are very into the same things that I'm into. It's like a general vibe there. It's kind of different from here in Sydney, which is arguably more relaxed and more chilled and stuff. And so I wanted to be there, like in one way or another. And then there was a choice between like going there for work or going there for school. I first actually went to work after I graduation in 2020. That was at Google. But because of COVID, I didn't move. I actually stayed here and remote work with my colleagues in the US. But even then, the people and the team in the US do more interesting stuff than the team that are local here in Sydney. So here they maybe primarily focus on engineering. I think there are some research operations getting set up here by Google, I think last year. But it was more interesting projects in the US. And then after a year at Google, I think I didn't want to continue doing that. It was a very productive year. There were some papers coming out. I made some really good connections, and it was like a cool job from a lot of perspectives. But I wanted to try school. I think it's a different environment, and this is where going back to the exploration point of view and not overfitting to a particular career option, I decided to just quit and then take up the master's offer that I have from 2019. So I deferred for a year and I joined after 1 year at Google. Basically, to summarize, it was really just to try things out and see what it's like to be at one of these top CS schools.
Besides studying in America, what it's like living there?
Definitely not as happy as, not as like fun as living in Sydney. I mean, it depends on where you live, I guess. The place where I live, Pittsburgh, is not the most fun city there is in the world, let's just say. You don't get what you get here in Sydney. The quality of life here is just 10x better, 5x better maybe. So the 2 years there was really work focused and not so much fun per se. Like there's not too much outings and not too much travels. So really focus on research. I think that's one of the reasons actually a lot of these universities have their place in these kind of remote and obscure areas where people can focus on academics and research and not to be distracted by everything else. So I mean, yeah, it was all right, but not a great place to live. I'm getting out there hopefully soon.
Oh, you got offers from many of the top, best of the best PhD programs, including Harvard, MIT, and Stanford, and Berkeley, actually. Why did you decide to take on the offer at Stanford?
Yeah, that was a tough decision. There was two parts to it. There's this logical reason and there's like the emotional reason. The logical reason has to do with many factors. So the way it works with PhD programs is that you're supposed to have an advisor who is pretty much your boss in the sense that they pay for you, they pay your tuition, they pay for you a little bit of salary, stipend, and then you do research with slash for them. And so you're gonna form like a long-term relationship with that advisor. And so it's picking the school as much as the advisor. So I was talking about these factors. One of these factors was, is there a good advisor at the school? And then are you into the advisor? Like, is the advisor into you? And then there are other factors like location. If you want to go to a school like Princeton, location is it's more disconnected from the tech scene compared to places like Berkeley and Stanford. And then there are factors like your peer, like certain schools are good at certain stuff and less good at certain stuff. Like for example, Stanford is more into these LLMs, large language models, and AI stuff more so than MIT. Then if you want to like work in this general area, it's probably better to be in that general environment. And then there's factors about life, like where do you want to live? Do you really want to live in California where it's sunny all the time, or live in Boston where it snows and then it freezes 2 months of the year? And then which one do you prefer? Like that kind of stuff. And then there's like access to resources. Like by being in this school, what kind of resources can you get access to? For me, one of the things was, can you get easier access to startup and entrepreneurship? I think it's way easier to raise. Probably, I mean, this is arguable. I think some people are going to disagree with me, but I think it's easier to be part of the startup scene in the Bay Area, especially Stanford and Berkeley, than in the East Coast where MIT and Harvard is at. That was a big thing for me because I knew I wanted to. I was talking about my high school, like what I wanted to commerce. I wanted to do like business stuff. So there was that carried over to this decision. So that definitely was important. And so by weighing all of this, it was basically at the end picking Harvard, Stanford, and Berkeley. Harvard, there was a really good advisor. Like the advisor part is almost perfect, and the location was a bit off, and the peer community is not as strong as, in terms of computer science, is not as strong as the other schools. And then in the Bay Area, it was deciding between particular research focus areas and particular advisors. Narrow down to the Bay Area, Stanford and Berkeley, and then you narrow down to Stanford because of the various reasons around the kind of things you would do, like particular research sub areas. Berkeley is more into ML systems. Stanford is kind of slightly broader in what they do around LLMs, maybe arguably. Again, some people hearing this might be disagreeing with me, but yeah, I think that's kind of my understanding to this. And then there's finally the emotional reason where I think I wanted to go to Stanford a while ago when I was undergrad. I tried to apply to there. I got rejected. Applied again, rejected for masters. It was not an easy. It even took like a month or something. There was a lot of calling, lots of like talking to people, and lots of
I haven't lived in Sydney for around 10 years and also lived in America for 2 years in multiple cities. Have you experienced any culture shock?
That's a great question. I don't know if there's particular drastic changes. There are multiple reasons to that. One of these is like I am not particularly a social person, so just from the social scene, I mean, there wasn't much difference. One of the things I was saying earlier was I try to find people that are more aligned in terms of what they want to do. And so I do that also in America. In my experience, it's generally easier to find people that are more hardworking and they are more willing to spend more time on work and more ambitious and stuff. The second thing is probably just the way you deal with life and safety and like personal risk tolerance and what you want to like kind of a life philosophy, I guess. I mean, the safety part is one thing where in America you do have to worry about safety way more than you do have to in Sydney. There are guns in different places. Yeah, so you don't spend too much time outside at night, but I don't think that's a problem here in Sydney. And then there's the part about, I guess, life philosophy, but I don't think this is like a Sydney versus America thing. It's more like a China versus America thing, where I think there people are more willing to try a lot of odd things and don't have to stick to a particular set career path. There's more of that in America than around for my friends from China. For example, one of the things I did have, I was kind of surprised is that when I talked to a lot of Chinese friends in America, they're more focused and set to like doing this research and then continuing the PhD and continuing to faculty jobs. It's to them, it seems like there's generally less career options there are than compared to like the other Americans I run into who are try a bunch of things and they thought that this doing research is cool, and then they don't know what they want to do after and they want to try more things. Yeah, so there's that culture shock. Other than that, I don't think there's too much that's different from Sydney.
Speaking of safety, how do you keep yourself safe in America?
Don't go out at night. Try not to. And go into safe neighborhoods and try to live in safe cities. Avoid SF for sure.
Did you live in a safe city?
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh is pretty safe by different kinds of metrics. Like, for example, out of the 2 years there's only one incident where it was supposed to be a shooting incident, but it was not. So like 2 years without any shooting incident, that was pretty good in American standards. But if you go to SF, you will be lucky to not have your window smashed within a week. Within 3 days.
In SF?
In SF, yeah. Yeah, so like...
That's very surprising, actually.
If you drive a car around SF, like, and if you leave something inside, they will smash your car. They'll get the thing. You cannot get it back because they have a gun, and then they will point a gun at you, and they're okay to fire at you. And the police are not going to do anything. It's kind of broken. I mean, I haven't lived there personally, so this is like anecdotal. Not particularly safe.
So that's the area you are moving to.
There's the SF area, and then there's the Bay Area. I hope the Bay is better than the SF area. But yeah, I'll be hanging out SF in one way or another sometime. Yeah.
Okay, so you stay safe.
Yeah.
For sure.